Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And we have some people that are not going to be with us today, ladies and gentlemen. Crispy Bomb is doing some family time, and as you know, and he announced it on Twitter and also on his YouTube. Oh, that was my Metal Gear stuff. Very, very unprofessional.
I think it was cool.
The Metal Gear, that was fantastic.
Yeah. See, I'm a Metal Gear. I'm a Metal Gear
to be
stan.
unprofessional. You know.
Yeah, really. Wandering Dutch is taking a break. He's taking what he calls a mental break, which is incredibly important. Podcasting is a tough business, folks, and sometimes you kind of need to step away from the microphone. And he will be joining us back next week. Everborn Saga will be here momentarily. He has a lot to say, but folks, we have an incredible show for you, not just because the topics are hot. We have someone that not only is a personal friend of mine, someone that has exploded on the scene, not only is on his YouTube channel, but when we first saw who he was on RDX, it is so great to have him back here. Colt Eastwood, my brother, how are you feeling?
Good. I thought you were talking about Mag for a second there.
Jeez.
Well, wait. I'm going to talk about Mag because he wrote another stellar script for Manscaped, which we'll get into momentarily.
I am on pins and needles for that one. Yeah, he said he might make me blush. So, thanks
good.
for having me on, Boom. It's been probably 2 months or more since I've been on here. Last time we did like a double header. And I think by the end of the night, we had to go lay down on our little pillows and sleep it off, right?
That was an amazing night, by the way.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We went from my show to your show, and it was a solid 3+ hours of just nothing but fun. But Colt, it's great to have you here. Your Tuesday show with your guest Erica Cuts for the win. She is dynamite. Really, really fun to listen to. Of course, Gaz is always going to be Gaz. I'm not sure if you guys saw the post. Someone was giving him the business about playing Call of Duty, and he only had 30 days in Call of Duty online.
Jesus.
I could give you a 2-minute version of that. That's actually pretty entertaining as we kick off the show, as people roll in. And Boom, people need to hit that like button. They love your show.
I appreciate it.
They're gonna do that because they love your show and they love Kay Sante and Mag and Dutch and everybody else who should be here. But what happened was somebody on the PlayStation side of the community saw my podcast the next day and was upset that I claimed that Sony was afraid of Xbox's position with Game Pass and with Activision on the acquisition table. And I said, what do you not agree with there? Because the media, David Jaffe, everybody who's writing about this is on the same opinion levels we are. And he said, do you guys play Call of Duty? Let's see your cred. And I said, well, our profiles are wide open. You can go look. He goes, go give me your cred and your statistics. And I said, look, you don't work for me. I don't work for you. I don't. Right. You go get it. My stuff's wide open. You go get your screenshots and come back hidden. Here. Yeah. Nothing's hidden. I just laid up in bed in the morning. It was the first thing I saw was somebody, destroying the credibility of my little show. But to stand up for Erica and Gaz more than anything, because their credibility or their opinion was being put into against the wind. So let me get to the business. A big fight ensued for about an hour and a half on Twitter. I wasted my time and everybody's time. By the end of the day, Gaz and I jumped on a Spaces with him and some other people, and we very professionally and surgically destroyed his angry, bitter situation where he just doesn't believe that PlayStation is worried about this, which is going to be one of the big things you're going to talk about. So that's how I'll just lead in.
What a shame! What a shame that you had to waste an hour.
Up the lips.
Yeah, what a shame you had to waste an hour of your time on nonsense, and it's pretty ridiculous how. Listen, we like Xbox, right? And when Xbox does something wrong, we talk about it. We give them the business, right? I've given them the smoke.
We flip the table sometimes.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And they have earned that. Sony is in a position right now where they sat on their hands for a lot of years, folks. And we're actually gonna break that down. But Kay Asante, it's great to have you back, brother. It's not raining in your office today, so that's good.
No,
stuff.
It is not. Yes, and actually nobody knew that. So just so you know, the reason why I canceled my show last Saturday, is because when I came into my office, it was raining back here, like right into my office.
Wow!
After all the new construction, it was just raining. It was just a little bit of rain.
On those beautiful shelves.
on everything.
God,
on my PC,
I love
the
those
whole
shelves.
deal.
It's my favorite.
Oh, and
part
by
of
the
your
way,
house.
Colt, I love the story you told because it fills in the gap on RDX. Because I remember them going, I hear Colt is in the spaces, and they go, Colt is in the spaces. I'm like, when
Well,
has Colt
RDX
been
was
in
going,
spaces?
yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, it was there's a lot of yelling and
Mhm.
a lot of name calling.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
And
Don't
Gaz
like
and I
that.
kind of sat back and waited our turn, and whoever was somebody that was moderating it was doing a really good job of telling people to be respectful.
Or
But by
like
the
you
end,
like to say, hashtag be nice.
yeah, but Boom, after a while, when you get attacked
hard.
from every side for day after day, every once in a while you just have to tell, shut up.
Yeah.
You lose the
So
niceness.
as nice as you can, right? But
Mhm.
Gaz is a lawyer. Gaz just said, this is the deal, this is the deal, this is what you said, this is what the expectation was. And he very nicely sat him down. And I sat him down. I said, look, this isn't junior high. We're not slamming people up against a locker. We're not 1v1ing to flex muscles in video games. This is not what the discussion is about. This could be about Roblox being acquired by Microsoft.
Wedgies. That's what you got to do. You got to
You
go
get
back to giving
wedgies and noogies?
Yeah.
Oh, and the whirlies. Don't forget the whirlies.
The wet willies.
So the best part, Boom, was by the end, the person that was aggressing us,
Mhm.
he dropped out. He left, he closed his mouth, and he was never to be heard again. He was upset that we kind of treated him like he was a nobody. But what he doesn't realize is we are all nobodies when it comes to it doesn't matter how many subs you have. We're all we just all love games, we play games. I think when you're somebody is when you treat people, like you always say, Boom, you treat people with enough respect, you treat people properly.
Yes.
And this person wasn't treating others or myself properly. He said that he didn't care about the war in Ukraine when Stalker got delayed. Xbox needs to do better and get games. And he says, who cares? He had his reasons why he doesn't care about what's going on with that studio. So, yeah, that's what it is. But what the real meat and potatoes is what's going on with this regulatory discussion, which I can't wait to hear you guys lay it all out.
Yeah, we Everborn Saga and I had a conversation, as we do with everybody on the panel, personally, and we came to a pretty good thought process of why Sony, quote unquote, scared or is concerned. We're going to break that down in a moment. But Mag, listen, how you been, brother? What you been doing?
Well, I got to tell you, it's been fantastic. You know what? I'm excited to be in the show tonight, obviously, as always. But you know what? I didn't know that Colties was going to be here. Super excited about that. And I'm, too bad to hear about that whole situation with you. I was kind of busy at work and I didn't understand what was going on. But hey, I understand now that he's laid it out. But let me tell you something, Colt. If you want to do it, you got to do it like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. Okay? He just says, I'm nice until I'm not nice.
Yes.
And that's how you got to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Roadhouse. Yeah. Anyhow.
Roadhouse.
Boom. Yeah. Roundhouse. I got to tell you, Boom, been a busy week, never mind just with work. But in the gaming aspect, I can't stop playing Horizon Forbidden West. It's such a great game. But also, I started to dip my toes into that PS5 game, Stray. What a great little game. It's so much fun, especially as I'm a cat person.
Well, I mean, Mag, you do have 2 Egyptian spink cats.
That's right, folks. And let me tell you something, Boom. Lord knows I like my pussies bald.
Hi-oh.
Well, I'll say this: if your feline area is a little too hairy, it's time to get Manscaped.
That's right, Boom, Manscaped. And let me tell you something: don't let your pubic hair go astray. Get to the product that has claws with no scratches. Boom! Please tell the fine folks at home all about Manscaped products and the promo codes for it.
Well, listen, I want to talk about the Performance Package 4.0 and what you get in it, folks. Let me tell you something. It's the summer of Manscaped. And if you want to save 20% off your entire order plus free shipping, all you have to do is use the code DBG20 at checkout. And the Performance Package 4.0 that I'm talking about is still qualified for that as well. It comes with the lawnmower 4.0, all new safe skin electric trimmer, the weed whacker for those pesky ear and nose hair that bog you down like a caveman. It also has the crop preserver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, and it also has the crop reviver. Hey man, you can spray those balls and get them nice and toned. And also, if you order today, you get 2 free gifts, and they're worth over $60. That's right. You get the travel, you get the shed, travel bag, which is valued at $40, and you get a pair of the Manscaped anti-chafing boxers, which are valued at $20, and you get both of those for free. So if you want to do that, head over to manscaped.com, type in the code DBG20 at checkout, and get your 20% off and free shipping.
Fantastic, everybody. Fantastic. Manscaped, guys. Go check it out, please. Go check it out.
Hey, Mag,
Yes, sir.
Fun fact, when it comes to shaving my kittens,
Oh, my God.
I'm more of a runway strip man.
Well, you need to know. You need to know where to land the plane sometimes.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, you know what?
Man,
As he's here, we want to welcome in Everborn Saga. He's took a couple of weeks because family stuff and it's the summer. Everborn, we're happy to have you here, brother. How you feeling?
You know what, Boom? I feel fantastic. I was under the weather for like 4 weeks. I thought I got hit with the T virus again, but it was not that. And now I'm good, ready to go. Lots of things to talk about. Boom. Can you just tell the people how many times I called you like right before a show and gave you my whole spiel of what I would have said while I was coughing up a storm?
It was very, very good stuff, folks. We missed out. We the public have missed out on it, but he's here today. And listen, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's get into this. We did have, if anyone missed it, Michael Pachter, obviously, from the Pack Attack. He's an analyst within the gaming industry. He just put out a video today, I think maybe about an hour ago.
This was on Yahoo Finance.
Yeah, Yahoo Finance actually published it. Thank you for that. And he thinks that this deal gets done by October, where Microsoft, if they don't hear anything from Lina Khan, who is the head of the FTC, they'll just say the deal has been passed and we're done. And he believes that by potentially the 15th of January, it'll all be done. But the signing could happen as early as October 1st. And look, the reality is there's been a lot of documentation that made its way to the public space from the Brazilian board, where they had asked a lot of third-party companies their opinions on if this deal would be detrimental to their business practices. And everyone, EA, Ubisoft, Apple, there was a ton of them that had no problem with the deal. The one big company that had a problem with it was, of course, Sony.
You don't say.
Was that?
I said you don't say.
Yeah, you don't say. And what's interesting about this, and I'm going to go straight to Colt, obviously, because he's our special guest. Colt, it's funny to hear some of what Sony had to say. And when you look at what I like to call terror tactics that they use, listen, we've seen it time and time again, Colt. You don't play ball with Sony, you don't get the interview, you don't get the exclusive reveal, you don't get a code to review for your site. Sony is like the bully, right? And like we've seen in real life and many times, bullies push and push and push, and the kid that they're pushing eventually is so backed into a corner that they lash out and they wind up sending the bully to the hospital. And then the next day, the parents of the bully come in and say, no, this kid should be suspended. Well, that's kind of what is happening right in front of our eyes. I know I'm being slightly facetious, but the truth of the matter is, Colt, Microsoft was kicked in the teeth all last generation. They were in third place literally from the start of the last generation until this generation ended, and they never got out. Even though they had good stuff, they had great first-party stuff. They wanted to bring out the Xbox One.
Their first-party stuff was some of the best, but the other half of what they were offering was their fault. The reason why they were getting kicked around.
100%. So I want to get into the quote unquote Sony is scared, and I'm gonna go with you, and I'm gonna bring this over to Everborn Saga, because scared is a word that a lot of people are finding to be offended about, and you
they don't like
know
the
about
threatened.
that.
They're afraid.
They don't like the fact that Sony is Sony is on the ropes, so to speak. I don't think that they realized how much Microsoft wanted to make a push in this industry. I think that they rested on laurels. I think that they, because they were market share leaders, they kind of sat on their hands a bit. And now we're starting to see that they realize that the kid that was bullied is now, went to the gym, worked out, is cock D, and he's ready to have a fight now. So it's not going to be the pushover that they once were. And a perfect example of that came the way of Bethesda when they purchased them a couple of years ago. And now we're on the cusp of one of not only the biggest deals in gaming history, it's the biggest deal in Microsoft history, a near $80 billion for Activision Blizzard King, which is going to bring a ridiculous amount of IP and money for Microsoft moving forward. And even though they, Phil Spencer, when this was announced, came right out, Colt, and said, no, take it easy. I had a great call with Sony.
Yeah.
We understand that we're going to abide by all the contracts. We're not taking Call of Duty away. That's going to be multi-plat. But I think that the problem here is that's not enough. And I think what everyone and I were talking about was the fact that they might actually, Colt, lose the market share leader title. And if they do that,
gasp.
Yes,
Sorry.
gasp.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Clutch your pearls.
I think they've already, in most cases, lost not the traditional sense of market leader position. Market leader literally defines who is the top selling.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't matter because what Xbox is market leading the industry. They're leading where the market should be going. And when you first asked your question about, there's a lot of things you threw out to kind of break down, but what PlayStation is finding out, and it shows in their financial report, what we just saw earlier in the week before this regulatory discussion came out, is that PlayStation is learning very quickly that their move of you can only get this experience right here on this piece of plastic, and it's so special. That mantra is not working for them financially. No. Now, what it does do is it works for them in the scheme of 10 to 20 million hardcore people on their platform, which is really good. But then they're looking at the financial, like, how did Xbox, with way fewer games from their first party, not doing the traditional gaming thing,
by the way, Colt?
Yeah. How did they keep more people playing and not see such a market drop off of profit margins? So there's a lot of stuff to unpack there, Boom. But Hoag's Law explains this very well. He says the things we read about this threatened, scared, afraid Sony was really them trying to paint a very dark and dreary, grim picture to the regulatory agencies that Sony is becoming a victim of the huge, massively powerful Microsoft and Xbox. With Game Pass, which they said it would take several years for them to come up with a competition, which they're already doing and doing quite well. They still are trying to tell them that we are years behind. And with Activision, with Game Pass and Activision and Bethesda and all that stuff, Xbox has this market force with a better value proposition that they cannot compete because they cannot do what they did with The Last of Us 2. They can't bring on, 5 or 6 studios and 2,000 employees every few years to build a game like Activision does with their teams to build Call of Duty. Doing The Last of Us 2 is such an undertaking that it took Naughty Dog down to where they just needed to take a long break. Yes. We're not going to hear about what they're making for another year or two besides Factions. They have some sci-fi game that they want to make now that Uncharted is kind of on the back burner and stuff. So Xbox has really pushed them into the corner where they're saying, look, because you talked about being a bully. They're like, hey, Sony, you can't do this anymore where you just offer your special game on your one special platform. We have all this power where we're on PC, we're on every mobile device connected to the internet, we're on every smart TV or lots of smart TVs. Eventually, we'll be able to be on the cloud and we'll be on Xbox One and regular consoles with cloud integration. So our games have more market reach than ever, and you refuse to do it. There's so many things I want to say here, guys, because we'll get into this, but I truly believe, and I want somebody to write this down, and maybe I want the PlayStation guys to call me out on it, but I truly believe that if PlayStation put their games day and date on PC and on PS Plus highest tier, they would pull in so many people 100%. That they would not lose money. They would find, but here's what I want you guys to write down that don't like me. I think PlayStation believes their fans won't step up to the plate and support them on PC and day and date on service. I think they really believe that if they put that out there and they went on a limb, they wouldn't make a return on investment.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're wrong.
Well, here's something that's interesting, Colt. During a financial call about, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 quarters ago, Jim Ryan himself came out and said the PlayStation fans are not enough. He actually said that.
Yeah.
So he understands that, yeah, God of War, fantastic, sold 20 plus million, and rightfully it should have doubled that. God of War 2018 is a masterclass achievement. Spider-Man 2018, they crossed over 25 million. To be honest with you, being that they have between PlayStation 4s, which is about 113 million, and now the reported 21 point something 66 million. So let's just make 22 million. Again, not a mathematician here, but that's near 140,000 PlayStation units worldwide that are out there. A game sells 20 million. 20 million of anything is fantastic, Colt. The reality, though, is that it should have sold 50 million. It should, and they're not. Even their biggest franchises, even their most popular franchises, are not delivering the way that they want to. And
Boom, can I Sorry,
please interject. Absolutely.
I have to say one thing, and it's actually quite an interesting point. And the thing is, we're only seeing it now this generation because you're not able to get the consoles at the same rate that we were able to in other generations. The reason why the games are not selling now, remember Spider-Man 2018, fantastic game, by the way. I'm not talking about the quality of the games. I'm talking about the sales. And God of War, these games came in bundles. 5 to 10 million of those games were not sold. Those were kids getting PS4s for Fortnite that got Spider-Man bundled into it for $199 on Black Friday. You remember the one we always talk about it?
They broke records. They broke records that still have not been matched. Yes.
So you take 25 million, you actually shave it down to 15 million of actual people that went out to purchase the game. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because now in this generation, the fact that you cannot get these consoles, or at least not, like I said, not with the same rate that you were able to before, is that now and no bundles, certainly no game bundles with a PS5, at least not for like those games, right? Yet. The thing is, now you're actually seeing who's purchasing the games, right? You see what I'm getting at? Yes. So, like the fact that the games are not packaged in there with the Fortnite players and the Call of Duty players and whatever else, right? The people who actually want those games have to either digitally buy it or go to the store and purchase it. And now you're seeing that it's actually less than 10% of those people are financially supporting the first-party games.
Yep.
I said, it's because the fact that you can't get a PS5 is that's why it's been brought to light.
Yes, and that's a great point. But listen, I want to bring Everborn into the conversation because what he's had to say yesterday was so perfect, and it really does break down what is actually happening here. Everborn, you and I were talking yesterday, and I want you to give your point because even if you are a diehard Sony fan, please. We're not attacking Sony. Sony isn't dying. They're not going anywhere. I own a PlayStation for their first-party stuff, which everyone knows I love. I love the first-party stuff that they do because it's right up this old man's alley. It's a single-player, story-driven narrative. It's movie-like graphics. What's not to like, right? If you don't like that, I hear you, but that's what I like about Sony. But Sony currently is the market leader. They're basically the head of the table. And they do their business like the Gestapo. They use terror tactics. We see that, like for instance, IGN. Now IGN's bread is buttered by Sony. That's a fact, folks. We know that we every time you see something with IGN, you see something with Sony. So they'll never do a hit piece like they did the other day against Phil Spencer saying he wanted to play God of War. You'll never see that come out on the Sony aspect. Like for instance, Cory Barlog, which is one of my favorite people. He is literally one of my favorite people in the industry because he's such an original, real person. When you hear him talk, I love what he does and what he did with God of War 2018, right? He came out and said, I effing can't wait to play Starfield. No one said anything. There were no hit pieces. Oh my God, how dare Corey Barlog say he wants to play a game on Xbox? Fire that guy. Get him out. Leave him security. Get him out. Here's a box. No one said that, right? But, again, it is what it is. But Everborn, there's something that Sony has that they don't want to lose. I want you to express that right now.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'll say what I said to you before, which is in the world of business, uncertainty is kryptonite.
Yes.
Right? Now, I'm old enough to remember a day where Sony and everyone else thought their relationship with Activision was ironclad and those marketing rights were never coming back. Right. There was a time where Microsoft had the marketing rights, and those were during the 360 days. And we knew what the market share divisions were like at that time. And then during the previous generation, Xbox One, PS4, Sony was able to wrestle away those marketing rights. And ever since then, we've seen what happens. So, and these marketing rights are so important, right? And I'll tell you why. Sony does not have to be worried about COD. So everything that they were saying, you have to take it with this grain of salt.
Right.
They're in no danger of losing COD, right? The game will continue to be multi-plat, right? So everything that they're saying, I'm coming to that. Everything that they're saying is in relation to them having the marketing rights, right? And what is so important about those marketing rights? People associate the Call of Duty brand, which is one of, if not the biggest franchises in gaming, they associate that with PlayStation, right? You used to only be able to get zombie mode on the PlayStation. You used to get early access to things on the PlayStation. These are things where if you're a hardcore COD player, and there are millions and millions of those, that's all. It doesn't matter if you've been on the 360 your whole gaming career. You're going to switch to the PlayStation. Right. And what Sony is worried about is now that they won't have that, what happens to all of those casuals? Because guess what? They're not going to lose the insert. They're not going to lose the MBGs, right?
Right.
I mean, they might. He did switch side from the Xbox. You guys remember that. But anyway, they're not going to lose those hardcores.
No.
What they are worried about is where the money is, which is the casuals. And why is that so important? You may have the whales that are saying, yes, please, Sony, charge me more. I can just have my check divided and I'll send some of it to you so that you can be okay. We have those guys and they won't go anywhere, right? You tell them they can have this game for $1 and they'll rather give Sony $70 because support the shareholders, right? Forget about support the devs, support the shareholders. But the casual base is why Sony has or had the market share lead that they had last generation, right? And what does market share give you? It gives you bargaining power. It gives you the power you need for the terror tactics that you spoke about, right? During the 360 generation, for Sony to work out an exclusive deal, they would have to forego the entire 86 million 360 market share. They're not going to do that. Or if they do, it will be very costly. And this is why an Xbox timed exclusive these days are 3 months versus you're lucky if you get 3 years from a Sony timed exclusive. Why is that? Because you cannot afford to leave the PlayStation user base behind. But the problem is when you're tied to a console generation, the market share of a console generation, you can only rely on that for as long as you're making games for that box. At some point, I mean, according to Sony, they're going to run this out till it's 2026. But at some point, you're not going to have PS4 to rely on anymore.
Yes,
right?
That's correct. Yep.
And if you look at how the sales are going, Satya Nadella said it himself. The last 3 quarters, they were the market leader for next gen. They've sold more series consoles than Sony could sell PlayStation consoles, at least in the US, for the last 3 quarters. That doesn't appear to be slowing down.
Yeah,
right?
let me just clarify what that means. When he's talking about 3 quarters, folks, that's 9 months.
Right.
So I just want that to be clear that it's not just 3 months, it's 3 quarters, which is 3 quarters of financials that read Microsoft Series X and S has outdone Sony in the States.
And let's be clear what that means. That is in the face of releasing GT7, in the face of releasing Horizon Forbidden West, in the face of releasing Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, right? All of those things, all of those bangers, where are you selling more consoles at right now, right? So if people, casuals, begin to associate, and they will associate COD with the Xbox, they run over. You can no longer do what you did with Final Fantasy VII Remake or Street Fighter V or all those things. And that is what they are terrified about. It is not COD. It is losing the casuals. It is the uncertainty of what happens when you can no longer fall back on that user base and get all of these deals, all of these exclusives that people associate with your box, even though you didn't make them, right? When you don't have that anymore and all you can rely on are your tentpole first-party games, that's a precarious predicament that they are in. Now, also, I do want to add one other point about COD going exclusive. Another reason that what Sony said is doing a lot of work there, because what they want is, they know they can't stop the deal, but if they can get regulators to, like Pachter said, put some sort of consent decree, because right now Microsoft says it's going to stay multi-plat. You do not know what Microsoft will do in the future. But if you can get them on paper, if you can get them on the record, right, saying, listen, FTC, you're going to let us close this deal. We promise to keep COD there. That gives them at least enough certainty to know that they won't lose it altogether. And it will give them the time they need to utilize Bungie or whoever else to make something that could rival it. Because again, uncertainty is kryptonite.
Yeah. Cole, do you want to add something to that, brother?
Yeah, I mean, Hogue Law was on my show, and he explained that the exclusivity really has nothing to do with whether they approve this deal or not. They don't care about PlayStation not being able to have access to games. They don't care about if Xbox doesn't get access to what PlayStation does. Like, they don't look at it and say, Microsoft can't say, look, we don't get Final Fantasy VII, so you got to let us do that too. Hogue's Law said
say that though in one of those things.
Exclusivity doesn't even come into the reasoning. That's why PlayStation said you can't rival Call of Duty. It's unmatched. You can't get it anywhere else. And if they're going to offer it in Game Pass, something we can't do, this is why it is absolutely imperative to understand that they are afraid of the power and position of Microsoft and Xbox, because they're trying to paint the picture not about exclusivity, but about how unique. And there is no other game like Call of Duty. So it is a monopoly in and of itself, because they can't push exclusivity. That doesn't matter. The only thing they could try to paint a picture is that Microsoft is creating a monopoly. They're creating a monopoly that they have Call of Duty. Call of Duty is attached to the Xbox name. That people are going to think, Sony's like, come on, people are going to think that Xbox is the only and the best and the place to play, where you can play the biggest shooter with no rivaling competition.
Yes.
And it's also in a service that no one can touch. Please help us, regulators.
Yes.
Save us from this terrible, evil thing.
And all the while, Bungie's like, really?
Yes.
Really, Ninja?
Well, hold on a minute. Let me just add something to Colt's point. And that was another point that Boom, you and I talked about this. I forgot to bring it up. So here's the on top of everything I said before, the point you bring up, Colt, is very important, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is the Game Pass angle, right? If Sony's entire business model is the AAA banger, we spend $200 million making the game, we make it back in those direct-to-consumer sales, and consumers understand that is what they are used to. That is what we are used to doing. Now, we'll argue a little bit later how they spend that $200 million and then they amortize the cost through releases of director's cuts and remakes of remasters of remakes that don't really do much and charging you for lip sync things. But we can talk about that another time. My point is, if what Call of Duty does in a subscription service like Game Pass, it throws on the face that you have to get a big game like, let's say, God of War, and you have to pay $70 for it. If Microsoft trains the consumer that they can expect games like Call of Duty and Elder Scrolls 6 and maybe Starfield, we'll see what that does. If Microsoft trains the consumer to expect those kinds of games in a subscription service, it breaks Sony's business model on its head. And they can no longer operate as usual. And that is the fear. That is where everything changes for them. And they don't know, not saying they can't compete in that future, but that is all sorts of uncertainty. And that is what the fear is.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has had some good stuff so far, but we still got to get to Mag and we still got to get to Kay Asante. Kay Asante, let's bring you in on the conversation. You know, yesterday, Andrea Piccinini posted something on her official Twitter account, and it said, yes, Microsoft finally speaking about what needs to be said, pretty much as I mentioned in my previous tweet regarding Sony actually crying about this. This is what she wrote. When the new regulatory docs made their way to the public space where we all were reading it regarding Call of Duty, she said, this is funny. Sony PlayStation, who has been taking away popular multi-plat franchises and making them PlayStation exclusive for years to influence users to choose PlayStation, are now whining when Microsoft caught a bigger cod, pun intended, than that can influence users to choose Xbox without even making it exclusive. And obviously I want you to talk about what Everborn just said, but again, it's pretty hilarious how they're trying to make themselves look weak when they have done this. These terror tactics, that I like to call it, the reason why they are able to get away with murder and walk around like the big man on campus is because they are the market leader. They lose that title, they will not be able to get the next Street Fighter locked up as an exclusive, or the next even like Square is not theirs yet. We know that they're going to buy them, but they have a lot of deals in place, a lot of money-hatted deals, and people that represent those companies, like for instance, like Harry Potter is, Hogwarts is not exclusive, but they have the marketing rights. Obviously Final Fantasy VII still hasn't been here. Forspoken is going to be a 2-year exclusive at least. Final Fantasy 16 is going to be at least 2 years if it ever comes over to Xbox.
Or never.
And they can do that. They can do those bully terror tactics because they are the market leader. If the tide changes and when they're able to put Call of Duty Call of Duty 2025 on a box that has an Xbox logo and console inside, it's pretty going to be.
Boom.
What's that?
$249 COD on the box.
Yes, it's going to
$199.
Yeah.
On the box. I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's talk about the tweet. The healing era is over. We
are
now
don't even go
in
there.
DPS
Don't go there.
mode.
Don't even go there. Yes, you should see what King is replying.
The damage per second era is what we are in.
Well, I mean,
that was
King
from
is
the official
replying
Xbox Twitter.
Yes, I just posted in the DM.
And speaking of King David, tomorrow he's sitting down with me for the new episode of X Vlog Live at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guess what? The King is going to be
in rare form, probably.
He said it. Expect a rare form King tomorrow.
Indeed.
About telling everyone that Sony is eventually going to be a third-party publisher, just like Sega. But we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Right around the time Sega gets acquired and becomes first party again.
It's very possible. But Kay Asante, let's get your opinion on this, because, like I said, the fact that Jim Ryan himself said that Xbox Game Pass is not sustainable. A couple of years ago, Now that particular comment hasn't aged very well, considering the fact that they have their own service, and they're saying that the market share that Microsoft has is 60 to 70% of the world, and in Brazil it's 70 to 80%. It's funny how they poo-pooed it, and now they're crying they're crying foul because Microsoft is doing things that they can't do. What are your thoughts on all of what everyone had to say so far?
So I agree by and large with the panel and even the chat. Everybody's, the takes are exactly spot on in my humble opinion. I mean, what I will say though, and usually I'm the one for the righteous smoke. I'm there, waving my finger around if need be. If they did anything other than this, I'd be surprised. Right? We are in the bag. We, as the collective we that are listening to this, that are watching this, that are on the panel, we've spent a lot of time paying attention to what these companies do. Right? We've been calling the balls and strikes for a while now. None of this is surprising. Right? I said this on social today. It's not surprising at all. The culprit becomes the victim to the unknown. That's what's happening here. Right? And it's not for them to go, oh yeah, mea culpa, we're fine. No. It's for them to be the soccer player who has had just another player come next to them. You didn't really see what's going on, so they grab their knee and they're on the floor and they're writhing in pain. It's BS, but that's what you do. It's the game. It's the business. Microsoft has done it too, right? Most people seem to forget. But the minute the Bethesda deal was struck, the minute ABK became a thing, there was Phil Spencer out talking about the partnership with his partners, Sony, and his partner, Nintendo, because they're trying to keep the evil Tencent or Amazon away. They're trying to paint a picture and say, look, you can trust these guys. We're in gaming. We know what we're doing. Don't trust those guys, right? And the same thing is happening here. It's just Sony's flipping it on them and going, you can trust us. We're just the victims here. Look at the big evil giant coming to, even though we all know they have been spending years and years and years trying to make Xbox disappear. Right? We know this. This is the game everyone plays. They've all played it, right? What would surprise me is if regulatory bodies see this and go, oh, wow, we need to protect Sony. That's what would surprise me. What doesn't surprise me is that Sony is coming out there being the victim. It's obviously what they do, right? It's obviously what you're supposed to do. It's business, man. We're not trying to be, they're not trying to play fair.
What does everyone say? It's not show friends, it's show business.
Friends, it's show business. Exactly.
and I will give business for a reason, people.
And I will give everyone a few points. I'll give him credit on a few points here, right? He's right that they're trying. Shut your mouth, man. They're trying. Be quiet when I'm talking at you. No, they're trying to keep that market leader status. Not just because of the game and not just because of the money, right? They're trying to keep that status because, as we all know, PlayStation is gaming, right? Just like Pampers is diapers. Like, it's synonymous with the activity. And they've been the market leader for God knows how long at this point through hook or crook, right? They've always done that. Now, if you lose that position, and they are losing that position clearly, right? And it's not just this that's doing it. It's a combination of this and Game Pass and all the accessibility and all the hey, you buy it once and you have a dual entitlement. You can just have it everywhere. All of that is eating away at their market share, and it's eating away at your mind share.
Yes.
This is the nail in the coffin they're trying to avoid, because once this happens, even though, yes, even in that hypothetical world where they're still keeping COD and they'll keep all of it, it's no big deal. Guess what you won't see anymore? In that world, what they're afraid of is you won't see, oh, this preview is happening. Guess what version they're playing? PlayStation's version.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going on. Guess what version is used as the definitive prioritized platform? PlayStation.
Okay, Satya,
yes.
let me just add
or reviews.
Or reviews, exactly.
Right.
Reviewed on PlayStation. Remember that? Reviewed on PS4. Reviewed on PS4. Reviewed on PS4.
At the side, at the
That's
bottom on the
still
blurb,
going on.
also available on Xbox. Also
Yes.
available,
You're
but it's
lucky if you
always
get that.
PlayStation. It's
But-
always. Go
But
ahead. Go ahead. Before.
No, I was just saying to add to that point. We think of the 360 as the heyday for Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
All those games that we got, right? Those or like 90% of them would because of third-party partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Mass Effect that was introduced in that generation.
Mm-hmm.
Gears of War was made by Epic at first before Microsoft bought them.
There's a Gears of War version for PlayStation that was never released.
Right. So again, look what the Xbox was able to do when they could lean on the market share in terms of partnerships and exclusive deals that they could make. That is what Sony has done in this generation. It's the same thing they did when they were going against the Dreamcast, right?
Exactly.
You can lean on that market position. So I was just
adding that to absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I'll also say, like, to what Colt was saying about PlayStation fans who like the Sony thinks PlayStation fans won't step up to the plate if and when you bring it. Of course they don't. It's a very prescient point, Colt, because you're absolutely right. On the rare occasion when they, market leader, go up against real competition, what happens? Rare occasion. Real competition. We get Elden Ring. We get Breath of the Wild. And for every Elden Ring and every Breath of the Wild, there is a Sony game that gets stepped on. It's happened multiple times now.
Yes.
So what have they done? Through hook or crook, they never, ever, ever stand and let the product speak for itself because they can't afford to do that. They've never been able to afford to do that. On the rare occasion they do afford to let it do, oh yeah, this game is coming out at the same time as our game. It gets stepped on. And they can't afford that because it's a huge budget game. Breath of the Wild is absolutely amazing, right? Forbidden West, I should say, absolutely amazing. I have about 200 hours into this game. You could beat it after 35 hours. I have 200 hours into the game.
Wow.
But it got stepped on by Elden Ring, right? Rightfully so, right? The first Forbidden West Horizon got stepped on by Breath of the Wild. They always get stepped on whenever they let the product speak for itself. So they refuse to let the products speak for themselves. Hence I'm grabbing my leg. Oh, it's bad. Oh, it's terrible. They have to do whatever's possible to get a hand because whenever they don't get a hand and they're made to compete fairly on an even playing field, they don't fare so well.
One other thing to consider in all of this is I don't actually think Sony is lying, right, in what they're saying, because you have to think, right? PlayStation is what, 50+% of Sony's overall revenue?
I was about to go there.
Xbox is 8% of Microsoft.
It's a blurb on their radar, on Microsoft's radar, whereas it's basically half of Sony's business.
Right. So Mike and remember, Sony, where I will give them credit is they actually report numbers in terms of profit, unit sales.
Oh, but you know why?
Things. Well, no, I understand, but that's the point that I'm coming to, right? The Xbox division, yes, the revenue was $16 billion, its highest fiscal year in the history of the platform, but they don't really report out how much profit they're making and things like that for that division because they don't need to, right? Because there are so many other divisions that they do report profit for and overall net income and things like that. So for them to spend roughly $100 billion on acquiring studios and publishers and then funding those studios and publishers with $200 million projects that will take 5 to 7 years to release. Sony cannot do that right now. And
Microsoft could easily just go yada, yada, yada. We got cash. Move on.
And Sony's development pipeline, as it stands today, is not conducive for day-and-date PC releases. This is why they bought Nixxes. They're moving there, but the PC sales, box sales, also subsidize the game sales that they lose inside the subscription service. So Sony's whole business model is being all centered around the console is now like a noose that is tightening around their neck. So they actually cannot do what Microsoft is doing right now. And I'm not saying because, they're messed up. I'm just saying
and
they're not set up to do that. And it will take time for them to get there. That's not our problem. But
I will give you
why,
one thing, though. One thing I will say about that, though. And this is also about a conversation you and I have had, Everborn, for a little while. And I think this is where Microsoft deserves a little bit of criticism on that, right? We have been, and you guys have all been speaking very eloquently about it. Sony has been training the market right? Training consumers, right? I will go out as far as saying both companies have been training consumers for years now, whether they like it or they don't. They have been training. Why is it that when Sony buys something, it's assumed that it's exclusive, but when Microsoft does, it's question here, question there.
Yeah,
Still hates it.
It's
why?
No, it's like
Because
they
he has
won't make
trained-
it exclusive.
Right.
He
Yes.
has trained consumers to ask the question, whereas Sony has trained consumers to expect the most shady thing from them and expect that. And
What does
expect that
say
that's all
after
part
the-
and
what does it
parcel
say
of
after the Bungie purchase.
Exactly.
Because now we're going to ask
Exactly.
that question again.
Exactly. See, and Everborn, right? He and I, we host a show, Gaming Circle Podcast, Saturdays. If you don't know,
You
yes,
should come by Colt sometimes. if
you
you're free
you
on
should.
Saturday.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, we always have slanderous fun on Saturday mornings. Needless to say,
Not slanderous fun. I love it.
Oh
That's
yeah,
great.
we enjoy ourselves on that show. He and I, Everborn and I, when Forbidden West came out, right? We were like, I was like, yo, I'm beating the drum. The last $60 game, people go out and buy it. $60. Everborn being trained, and I'm not saying this as detrimental to Everborn. Absolutely not. This is just the market and what it looks like. He knows, even though it hasn't happened yet, he knows that if you buy that $60 game, somehow, some way, Sony will make you pay for that later. Because as history has shown, every time you try to get one up on them, they always find a way of making you pay for it later, right? So he even refused to buy the $60 version that gets a free upgrade. He insisted on wanting to buy the $70 version because I don't want to deal with any of the crap that they'll eventually throw on all those $60 people. This is what they're doing. Both of them train their consumers with their actions over and over again. And at some point, you start taking their talking points for them because you just get used to what to expect from them. So if Microsoft wants this kind of BS to stop all the time, is it going to be exclusive? What's going on here? Come on, guys. You know this is not going to stay multi-plat forever. They need to be more consistent with their message. They need to be more consistent. I know they can't be the ruthless Sony that Sony is, because if you're the biggest dude in the room with all the money in the world, the minute you start acting like Sony, regulatory bodies will literally eat you alive. They cannot be Sony. They just can't. They want to be, I suspect, but they can't. They always have to be smooth. They always have to walk soft, big stick, and big stick meaning all the money in the world. We know this, but they cannot be the way Sony is. But what they have to start doing is being more definitive and straightforward with the message. This is what we're doing. That's it. 100%. Let's move forward. Don't ask me again because I already told you what we're doing. Right. But of course, today it's this, tomorrow it's that. Oh, Call of Duty is staying multiplayer. Do you mean Warzone or do you mean all of it? So these are the reasons why this stuff just keeps happening. And this is why when the console war back and forth goes around, the console warriors can go, oh, well, my Sony brand is loyalty, because they literally shove chum at you at all times, until they realize you're not useful anymore. And then they go, yeah, you're not enough. So we're going to PC. And then you get mad about it. You know what I mean? So me personally, the long and short of all of this is I am not surprised at all about how Sony's approaching this. I'm actually more surprised that the community's up in arms about it. It should be like, yeah, that's Sony. That's the game they play. The question is,
but the
people
issue
who
is, no, okay,
Go ahead.
continue.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask. My only thing is the people who make the final decision, are they smart enough to talk to their 20-year-old intern who also pays attention to gaming, or are they gonna believe the corporation who's just there trying to keep their money, keep the status quo, and go, oh, woe is me? Well, Sony says woe is me, so maybe there's a problem. That's what I'm here to see. I'm not here to hear the balls and strikes of Sony and Microsoft. They will say what they need to keep the status quo. Right. Obviously, Sony keeps the status quo. Microsoft is changing the game, and either of them, not so much through hook or crook on Microsoft's side. I'm not even saying they do that magnanimously. I think they don't have a crook capacity to them. They're just ridiculously earnest sometimes to a fault.
A crook capacity. Let me tell you.
Well,
buddy.
these days, they've
no.
listen.
This is I'm gonna smile in your face until I'm close enough to get to you with the shiv.
See,
they are not nice people.
See, but the difference in what they're doing is not the same as what Sony's doing. I understand what you're saying, and you're right. But they're not doing shady, backhanded stuff. They're stabbing you with the shiv in front of you. That's different than Sony clutching their pearls and going, "Oh, we are the victims," even though there's pages and pages and pages of digital paper that'll show how many times
All
Sony
I'm
has been
saying
shady.
is, if the last thing you see before you die is a smile, it doesn't stop the fact that you're dead.
Oh,
The
that you're
thing
dead.
is
Of course.
one thing I want to know, because I really want to hear what Mag has to say on all this. It is very interesting and telling that no other publisher questioned had a problem.
Not one.
With this.
Not one of them. Not
Ubisoft,
one of the publishers.
WB, Riot Games. It does not matter. They was like, "Nah, we good."
Bro, you know why? Because there's a proverb that says if your hand is in someone's mouth, you don't slap it on the head. At some point, Ubisoft could become Ubisoft Xbox Game Studios. All the others could, and they know that. So maybe be nice.
I mean, maybe it was out of fear, but maybe it's also a little finger thing. Chaos is a ladder, right? Yeah. Hey, listen, you was cool with Activision. They, Microsoft took your girl. I'm right here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. No, listen, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Mag, let's bring you in on the conversation, because I have some of those documents in front of me. And the ones that jumped off the page, and it's funny because when you look at the answers for all of the other third-party publishers like the Ubisofts and the Riot Games and Apple and Google, they were very short and to the point, whereas the Sony situation is pretty lengthy. Now, I'm not going to read it all, but I do want to pull a couple of excerpts from it. And they say this, that there are a few barriers to entry into game development and publishing for PC. That only one developer can create an indie game and distribute it online, but creating a high-end AAA game like Activision's Call of Duty requires a budget of hundreds of millions of dollars and thousands of employees. And they also go on to say that from a development / publication perspective, game development typically involves an early stage that is neutral in relation to the platform before the game is adapted for one or more specific platforms. And they believe that all games compete for engagement of the player. Players choose their gaming platform based on pricing, technical features, and available game types. The available content is the main factor for the player to choose a platform. And what's interesting about what I just read, Mag, is the fact that Sony not only said they can't make a AAA game as big as Call of Duty, which I find to be hilarious, considering you just bought Bungie, makers of one of the biggest game franchises in gaming right now in Destiny 2. You also basically kicking your other studios, studio workers in the rear as well, because you're saying publicly that you can't, no one that you currently have can match a AAA game like Call of Duty. I call that hogwash. I could call it. You know what? I'm just going to say it. It's bullshit. Is really what it comes down to. What are your opinions on what everyone had to say and the fact that they are going to great lengths to try and poo-poo this deal for Microsoft, even though what they said is not going to matter. It's just one person, and obviously they're rivals, so they are going to say this. What are your thoughts, Mag?
First and foremost, I'd like to say that Naughty Dog has something to say when Last of Us 2 took 17 studios to make the game.
Yeah.
And thousands of developers and hundreds of millions of dollars to get that game off the ground, as well as not only the development cost, but also the marketing and everything else with it. So yeah, they're completely full of garbage. What it is, and this is something that I will still stay steadfast with, is that essentially the marketing deal that Sony has had with Call of Duty was never really a marketing deal. It was basically, it came across, as everybody else has said already in different words, it has essentially been an exclusive. Okay, it's basically been an exclusive in its own way every fall that Sony, even though they had to give money to it, but certainly not as much money as the development cost of the game itself. But what they did do is, for like a fraction of the price, they got a game that they didn't have to make. It was a game that was literally gift wrapped and thrown right on their laps every single fall. It was a guaranteed sale. It was a guaranteed 30% right off the top going into Sony's pockets, right, for every sale of Call of Duty. And then when Call of Duty raised their prices, guess what? Sony got that 30% as well, right? But the thing is, they got more than that, right? Because they just, like I said, they raised the prices. Now what they're afraid of is, as everybody else has once again said, they've talked about What have I been talking about? I've been on the show for 2 years, and I remember that not in the first show. It was like the second or third show. We started talking about something it's been my mantra for years, is that the only way that Xbox can move up into a position of power is not about spending. It's not about what kind of games you got. It's about the mind share. And that is always what it's been. It's not how many consoles you sold. It's the mind share of the community. It's who's out there. It's the Joe six-pack on the subway, and he looks up and he sees a sign for Xbox or whatever. And you know what I'm saying? And then he goes, "Oh, I got to go buy that for little Jimmy for his birthday this week or whatever," right? They don't have to go. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to go to the store and listen to the guy from GameStop sit there with a bullet point presentation as to what's the better console. The guy doesn't care. He just knows what he wants, and he knows what's available. You talk to people all the time, and especially casuals or people who don't know anything about gaming, the first thing they say is PlayStation and Nintendo. They don't know what. And it'd be like, well, actually, that's an Xbox game. Oh, so it's on PlayStation? You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. I brought up the story a million times. Colt, you like this one.
PlayStation.
Right, exactly. It's in the game. It's in the name. And Colt, I tell this story all the time. It's way back when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out 4 years ago, right? And I was walking through the mall. Remember malls, everybody? Remember that place where you go shopping and you buy stuff?
At some point, yes, I remember malls. Yeah.
Yeah. So those places.
Amazon.
Yeah, and they had a place in the middle where they sold food. Anyways, the point is, I'm walking through the mall, and there's a big blue sign right in front of the GameStop. Right? It was of course, in those days, it was EB Games in Canada. And it showed Red Dead Redemption 2, and it said exclusive in huge letters. It was like, it was ridiculous. It was like a gigantic marquee. And then when you got closer to it, it said exclusive hat and slacks if you buy it on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, hat and slacks.
All right, but you know the thing. The point is that every single Joe six-pack and every single soccer mom that walked by, they saw that it was for the PlayStation. They assumed that it was for the PlayStation. My cousin, who's actually a gamer, had no idea that Red Dead Redemption 2 was on Xbox. I was playing it on Xbox. I was playing it on the Xbox One X. You remember that? I mean, it was showing up better than it was in the PlayStation, and PlayStation was all pissed off because of the marketing and all that. Anyways, the point is that that's what they've done, and now they're going to lose that. You remember what they used to do before? 1 year exclusivities on those some of the modes they had. Remember survival mode? You couldn't get it on Xbox until a full 12 months later. By
12 months, yeah.
And you damn well know. Okay, just like we know, just like they know, is that after 12 months, no one's playing that Call of Duty anymore.
No one
They're
cares
playing
at
the
that
next
point.
Call of Duty.
Yeah,
so you basically have bought that exclusivity for the entire year. That really pissed me off too, because I love that survival mode with the waves, and I didn't have anybody on the PlayStation to play with. The point is, there was that, and then they had the other one. What you got? The first maps. They got the maps a month early. They got zombies early. They've got all the other things.
They got the beta access early.
Yeah, exactly. And so what ended up happening? It essentially was an exclusive. They are now threatened. They're not scared. They're threatened because they've lost that shoe-in that they get in every fall. And that's what they're worried about. And the thing is, I also believe that they've discovered, just like we discovered, never mind the United States of America, I want to talk about the rest of the actual globe that's paying $100+ for Sony games. This is
America is not the world? What?
Well, yeah, apparently, right? Thank you, Asante. So, yeah, there's an entire globe, world around the United States. We're all paying $100+ for PlayStation 5 games. And Call of Duty. They've also, as we all know, remember they have the cross-gen price, right? their baloney price of the Series X and S. You have to get the cross, what is it, the cross-generation? Boom, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Right? So it's like that cross-generation version, whatever. So you're paying the same thing. So for me, I'm paying $105 for the new Call of Duty, right? So that's a thing. So for the rest of the world that's paying $100+ clearly, as we've seen from the PlayStation 5 sales so far this year in 2022, it is clearly not working. No matter what anybody says about how the Game Pass model or the subscription model is not working, it is working. And you know the thing is, if it wasn't working, then why are you so damn scared about it? Because I don't care what anybody says. I don't care where your loyalty is. At the end of the day, when your door is locked and no one sees what you're doing, okay, and no one, you're not online and you're just by yourself, I think you'd rather spend $10 instead of $105, wouldn't you?
100%.
So, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you can access the games almost damn well anywhere, and you will more and more and more as the future goes on, right? With the smart TVs and everything else that's going to be going on, and the connectivity and all that, where all you're going to get is that tile on the screen right next to your Disney Plus, next to your Amazon, next to your Hulu, and whatever else you subscribe to, right? It's all going to be right there. You'd rather pay the $10 than pay the $105. I don't care who you are or what you know. It's like the people who bad talk ABBA, and then when behind closed doors, they're listening to ABBA's greatest hits at home. Okay, it's the same people. Now the thing is,
love it.
the other thing is, and this is something I wanted to touch about that Everborn was talking about. Oh, actually, first Asante, you said something that was very interesting about the consistency about the messaging about exclusivity and all that. I don't think that's necessary. Now, I had to talk about it with Mooch. You know, the guy who sounds like me or I sound like him. The thing is, we had a conversation about this 3 days ago, actually, funny enough. And here we are. It's a subject for tonight. Is that I said, I don't care where the games go. Let everybody play them. If Call of Duty goes on the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, whatever, PC, go for it. I don't care if Xbox owns it. What Microsoft needs to do, it's not about the exclusivity or even the messaging there. They need, once Game Pass becomes a global phenomenon, then that service will speak for itself. And that's what that's what I'm alluding to. So the fact
you know what? To that point, I agree with you. What I meant by their consistency in messaging is that whatever it may be, if you're going to be one who puts it everywhere and then puts it on Game Pass, great. If you're going to be one that makes it exclusive, fine. But be what you're going to be and make sure that everyone knows what you are.
Absolutely.
Rather than being wishy-washy depending on what the situation is. You know
I think that yes, you're 100% correct. Now, I think that the thing that I was talking about, I think that was more prevalent in the last generation where there were no subscription services. Like, for example, when there was Rise of the Tomb Raider, that was an issue because it didn't matter what. You had to buy the game. There was no Game Pass.
You know what? Honestly, though, that stuff was basically Microsoft getting an L because right before they did that, Sony had done that multiple times and nobody batted an eye. It's the fact that Microsoft
exactly,
and that's what I mean by them not being consistent in their messaging. Because today they're this, tomorrow they're that, so everyone's questioning. Whereas when Sony does it, it's always exactly the same. So you never have a question.
Well, that's why I made my last video because I couldn't sit back.
Phenomenal,
brilliant. You gotta tell me the who makes your wigs, good sir. I'm just,
it's my wife. She buys all my wigs.
And all I can say is I love the end of it. It's like the cherry on top of a delicious.
That was for Everborn.
Sega
says what's up. Yes. That was specifically like I swear to God. Everborn, I'm not even kidding. Before my wife's like, I'm saying what? And I'm like, just say Sega says what's up, and it kicked me really hard in the stomach. And I'm like, I said, Everborn will get a kick out of it. All puns intended. Anyways, now here's the thing.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
What I do not like, how dare this is why I made the video. How dare Sony have the balls? I felt like Michael Keaton in like Batman Returns. You know, he's sitting in the living room in the dark, and the sign comes up, and then he stands up because I haven't done a video in like a month. As soon as I saw this thing, it pissed me off so much. I'm like, that's it, honey, get the camera. And the thing is, it's because when they've been saying the best place to pay. My God! Wow, what a Freudian slip there. I like it. Thank you.
But it's the truth.
Only place to play. The best place to play. 1080p makes you a better gamer. You can only play that over here. And this, that, and the other thing. And then when the other guys just put up a tiny bit of a fight, they're like, well, you can't do that. They're like, what the hell do you mean you can't do that? You've been doing it for years. Like I said, I'm not going to tread on that. However, this is the thing that I wanted to touch on that Everborn said, and then I'm going to pass off the mic in a moment, is that what they're losing by this, and this is what they're afraid of, two things, in my opinion. And I've said this before also, Japanese business.
Yes.
And I know Japanese business well. They do not like change, and they are very, very conservative. Okay? And the fact that Microsoft is and we've all been saying this, by the way, Colt included. Okay? We've all been saying that Microsoft is going to force them out of the shadows and put a light on their business model and scare the pants off of them that they're going to be either forced to conform or they're going to turn into a third-party publisher. One of the two is going to happen. I still think they're going to be a third-party publisher eventually, and because you know what? There's way more money in that, and a hell of a lot more money saved when you're not spending it on R&D for a big, crappy, white, I can't even say it on the show because I'll get in trouble. But anyways, the big white thing in the corner over there. Okay. The
Most
point
people
is,
have it hidden behind their TV, by the way.
well, how the hell can you hide it behind your TV? It's bigger than the TV. Anyways, the thing is, they're afraid of change. They're afraid of being dragged kicking and screaming into this year and into the future of where it's going. And let's face it, for the last 20 plus years, who's been pushing all the innovation in the gaming industry? Microsoft, from the Ethernet connection all the way to Xbox Live, all the way to online gaming. There would be no Call of Duty. There would be no Call of Duty without Xbox. All right, and their innovations and everything. And now they're pushing this thing forward too. Right? So that's what I'm seeing. Now, what I'm seeing, the other last thing I'm going to say is that they're losing a big bargaining chip, which, of course, you guys had all touched upon. And it's about the winds of change when the publishers sit back and say, yeah, Sony, why are we doing this deal with you again? And they're like, well, because we're Sony. And you're like, yeah, but my financials show that the NPDs for the last 6 quarters, let's just say, I'm just being, for argument's sake, they've all been going to Microsoft and the numbers are there. Why are we coming here? You have to pitch to us why we're going to do exclusivity with you. And they're just not going to do it because they're going to see that things are changing in that direction. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of that bargaining chip that they've lost when they lose the mind share, of the casual gamer. And that's what I think they see. It's just like Rocky, the very first Rocky, when Apollo is sitting there and he's signing like autographs and whatever the hell he's doing. He's signing contracts for like Coca-Cola and the trainers in the corner going, yo, champ. I said, you better come see this. And it's a video of Rocky beating the crap out of the meat. And he's like, this guy means business. And Apollo's like, yeah, so am I. I mean business too. And he's like, no, they really mean business. That's what's going on right now. And I think that they're scared about that. And that now knockout punch is going to be coming. And they better be ready for it. And they better be ready to conform to move into the future of the business, or else they're going to be left out in the cold.
Mag, I will say this since we're talking about Rocky. If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, that's rough. That's a good classic.
Nice inflection.
Classic
Appreciate
that.
Yes. Nicely done.
Listen, before we move on to the next topic, we got a ton of super chats that came in. I want to thank everybody that did that. Highlander01, who's been a member of the channel for 3 months, so thank you so much for that. He says Sony said this can hurt them, that no one can make a game as big as Call of Duty. What does that say about Sony's developers? They basically insulted them all. And true, and that's what I said earlier. Kirby Zero Louise.
Real quick about that. Doesn't that sound notoriously suspicious, like what Square did to all of their Western studios before they got rid of them? It sounds so much like them. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
Well, let me say one other thing. You guys know I'm an unapologetic Sega stan, but whenever we get into these Twitter streets and people say that Sony pushed Sega out of the market, I say no. Sega stabbed themselves in the back, shot themselves in the foot, and jumped off a bridge. Right? They did it to themselves because they weren't able to adapt to the market.
Yes, they stabbed themselves in the back, but
3 times.
Sony gave them the knife. And then they threw themselves off the bridge.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They weren't able to adapt where Nintendo was. Yeah. So whatever happens now to Sony, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm not going to blame Microsoft for it. You weren't able to adapt, just like Sega wasn't able to adapt. So,
well, I mean, listen, I'll tell you this.
Whatever happens.
There is something to be said about this $70 conversation that everyone has been having. Everyone touched on it. And again, I bring it up and people laugh. The price of inflation has gone through the roof in this country. It is ridiculous how things were half priced 2 years ago and now are double in price. I'm talking everything from boxes of cereal to your gas to your cream cheese to your soda, right? There is a conversation that must be had about how when Call of Duty, when Sony is done with the marketing rights, whenever that is, whether that's 24, 25, 26, whenever it is, I don't know. And Microsoft turns around and takes a picture of whatever the new Call of Duty is and puts it on a Series S, for instance, says comes in the box, Call of Duty, and it's $200. That is when you're going to see the casuals, the normies, move over to Xbox. And here's why: because a lot of the people that only buy 2 and 3 games per year that are considered the casual audience, right? They buy their 2Ks, they buy their Maddens, and they buy their Call of Duties. They have no problem doing that. They're casual. Those casuals equate at least 80% of PlayStation 4s and 5s sold. And I could be wrong. It could be higher. And with that said, the reason another reason why they have major concerns with this is because someone is going to be at work and talk about playing Call of Duty and say, "Did you just play the new Call of Duty? I got it for free." Someone's gonna be like, "What? What do you mean you got it for free? How?" "Oh, I got this Xbox Game Pass. It's $15 a month, and all the games go in there." And that's how you're gonna have this giant shift to Xbox. And I think that is another contributing factor. But let me continue with the super chats, because then we got to talk about what Microsoft, or should I say, who Microsoft acquires next. Because if you think that they're done, folks, after this, you're sadly mistaken. And we know that because Phil Spencer himself came out and said publicly in an interview that as soon as the Bethesda deal was done, the board of directors asked, "Who are we buying next?" Right? That's public knowledge. That's not me being facetious or making it up for a point of view. That actually happened. Those words came out of Phil Spencer's mouth. And we're going to get into who they're going to get next potentially, because, well, they want to keep adding more value to Game Pass. And when they do add more value to Game Pass, they get more subs. But I want to welcome in 540 people in the live stream. Thank you so much for checking out Double Barrel Gaming's Primetime Gaming. I'm Mr. BoomStick XL. Obviously, the panel is in front of you. If you are enjoying the banter and you've never found the channel before, please consider subscribing. We are a pinch over 100 more to get 11K. And that's a big deal for a small channel like mine. The goal was 10K. I got that in January. We're now closing towards the end of the year. I'd love to finish off at 12, but I'd be happy with 11. So if you're interested in subscribing, hit that subscribe button. We also have Kirby Zero Louise drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Don't forget, Sony had an exclusive Call of Duty in the past. It was Black Ops declassified for Vita. And despite that, 3DS still squashed the Vita." Indeed. Gamer by Choice drops a $5 super chat and says, "Everborn is on fire. I also think that Sony does not have non-Game Pass clause. So if PlayStation can make this deal extend, the more Call of Duty on PlayStation can sell." Yeah, well, they're not gonna honor the deal. Once this contract is done, they're done. Drawn TJ, good friend of the program, drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "I say Microsoft tightens their relationship on partnerships with Sega and go get EA. You get all the normies and the casual players that now you can find your way to, I'm abbreviating, to the 3 billion gamers that Phil Spencer talked about that they want to get to, and they're going to get there, because the cloud gaming alone, if we've learned anything from the financials, is a big deal. And when you can play on your TV or your refrigerator or your phone or your tablet as well as your box, more people are going to find the platform. Sir X-Men, good friend of this channel, and Sir X-Men just had open heart surgery. He's doing better. It's good that you're back, brother. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Call of Duty is Sony's biggest multiplayer game. Xbox has 90% of their games as multiplayer. Multiplayer is pretty much a consistent moneymaker." And yes, that's why I don't think it's ever going to be exclusive to Xbox, because Microsoft would leave a ton of money on the table. Gamer by Choice, who's been a member of the channel for 35 months, brother. Thank you so much for that. He says, "If you are one of the other publishers, you do not want to anger the potential new market leader." And I think that those other publishers know Xbox could become the market leader. Great show. Thank you so much for that. And Megatron drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, "Seeing Crash, Spyro, etc. exclusive is gratifying." Yeah, he's getting messy right there. I love it. But let's move on to the next topic. And Colt, I want to start with you first, brother. The big question is, and will continue to be, is who's next for Microsoft? Are they going to go for a publisher? Are they going to go for a bunch of smaller studios? Listen, even if this deal is done this year, we're not going to hear them going after anybody at least until potentially the middle of 23. Only because they have a lot to do with the studios that they're going to own, right? A lot of work. There's still a lot of the sexual misconduct stuff. There's a lot of employees that are there that won't be there when Microsoft finishes the purchase. But the big question, Colt, is who's next?
I mean, we all drool over who we want Xbox to acquire, but I think somebody that they need to acquire that's really in the realm of possibility after these deals close, they can look and just grab a studio that they worked with. And I think the studio that they need to go after immediately, get the talks going now in confidence, is to pick up Monolith.
Yes.
Good
choice.
Before they land this game, this Wonder Woman game, because Phil and the team have worked very closely with Monolith while they were developing and optimizing and finishing up the touches on Middle-earth Shadow of War in 2017. I think it was 2017 or 2016. And Phil said their studio's right across the street. We go over there frequently and help them out and give them support and make sure they're optimizing for the new Xbox One X. And they, with the DC labeled Wonder Woman game, Phil has the opportunity to hear all those voices that are calling out for him to bring a superhero franchise to the Xbox. But he has been very clear that they do not want to spend money on buying other people's IPs and have them attached to the Xbox brand just to be, dissolve away or be moved to a location. So, but I think it is the right move. Monolith's really great. Their Wonder Woman game is going to be awesome. And I think it's time, looking at the deficit they've had with this year being absolutely terrible for first-party games. Xbox isn't going to invent a superhero. Not that I know of. They're going to make their own. They're going to run with their own established IPs and maybe make some new things. But just do it. Just go grab Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Just say, hey, we'll help pay for the last year of development or last 2 years of development on this. We can launch on Xbox exclusively. And then you can just talk about going to PlayStation in 2 years from now or a year from now. Do what they did with Tomb Raider. Put this game on Xbox first. Give the fans the service they want.
Yep.
But just buy the studio. And I know it's like, just buy them. But have this Wonder Woman thing attached to it. And then say, hey, we own Monolith. They're a part of the team. They make excellent third-party games. They make games that look amazing and feel great. I love Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. And I know that Wonder Woman is going to be really great. So everyone says Capcom, WB, Square Enix, and all this stuff. Yeah. I know, right? And I really think it's all a pipe dream.
Sega.
Thank you.
Or Sega, right?
One,
or PlayStation. Buy PlayStation and get it over with. It's really a pipe dream.
Hey, Colt, I will just throw some gas on your fire. Mm-hmm. If you look at the recent news announcements about cancellations and saving money, Zaslav is open for business. And Mag, I'm sure you can attest to that.
Well, you missed my pre-show conversation.
Let me tell you something. And I said this before, Discovery borrowed more than their market cap in order to buy Warner Brothers. Yep. They are all about snip, where can we cut things? Yes. If they think anything is going to be a loss, they are selling it. And Zaslav has never once mentioned he gives a flying 747 F, I won't curse, about
thank you, sir.
Video games. Right?
Everyone, watch the latest version of the Gotham game coming out. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Bro, you are absolutely right. You should really watch the latest. I think Skill Up did a preview video on that game. Man, that thing is getting sold. The whole thing is getting.
This is what I'm saying. They canceled a movie that was finished.
It was done
because they didn't want to do the CG on it. They didn't want to spend the money on the CG. I am telling you, if anybody wants any one of those WB studios, it is easy pickings. But sorry, Colt, I cut you off.
That's all right.
Please
that's right.
Continue.
No, I mean, I could sit here and list off the studios that I would like Xbox to buy, but I think if you had to put down a board and you had to put your chip on something, not what you wanted, but if your money was riding off, my money was riding on it. Monolith is something that they need to look after because I think you get two things out of the way. You get a nice studio that's manageable and purchasable because I think they're going to buy a couple of maybe 3 more studios, no more big publisher buyouts. They're going to buy a couple more studios and then they got it. I mean, but Xbox might actually be looking the total opposite way that we are all looking. They may be looking at two small mobile-based studios, in all honesty, because they're looking at, we have 23 studios. With Activision, they're going to have 30, right? They're like, we already have 30 studios. We have a couple mobile studios. We have King, we have Roundhouse Studios or Alpha Dog or whatever that make really small games. We need a studio that makes these little small games that run on anything and that just strike lightning. And that's probably where they're looking. But Monolith's my best answer if I was going to put money on it.
Well, and it's a good answer. I will say this for me, and I say this at least once a week, folks. You're probably bored of me saying it. When Crystal Dynamics was announced to have been Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal being sold, what's the name of the company? Embracer Group. My heart was broken, and I say that because Microsoft had an opportunity to bring in a competitor of the same matched level of Nathan Drake in Tomb Raider, along with 49 other IPs. Okay. And they didn't do that. They didn't do that because obviously they were fisticuffed by the ABK deal. They can't make any more deals. They wanted us to go through. The importance of the ABK deal cannot be pointed out enough. It is a massive, massive deal. It is the biggest deal in gaming history, and one of the biggest franchises in Call of Duty is now going to be first party. It's madness to think about. But I will say, to Colt's point, the one thing that they need to do in regards to when this deal is done, and I don't know if these contracts have been signed about first rights, about if someone comes up to try and buy them, they need to buy or acquire the studios that are working on IP that's new. Project Dragon with IO, right? IO needs to be scooped up because the Hitman himself is a monster character IP, and that would be great for Xbox to have as an exclusive character. Anyone that they're working with right now, they need to get. But I'll take it a bit further, and I'm going to just jump on to what Everborn and Cold Eastwood said about WB. Rocksteady is a great developer, but they take a long time to come out with their games. I think it's been 7 years since Arkham Knight. It's been a minute, and they have their Justice League, Suicide Squad game coming out, which is going to be big, right? But the truth of the matter is that there is a particular studio that is owned by Discovery that they should definitely consider immediately once this deal is done, and that is NetherRealm Studios. The fact that we do not have a follow-up to Killer Instinct it kills me. It literally kills me. One of my favorite franchises from way back in the days. I remember walking into the Nathan's arcade and hearing Combo Breaker, and I just walked up to the machine. I was like, "What is this?" And I realized at that point we had grown up from Street Fighter. It was just an amazing experience, and they have a successful reboot that they could possibly launch. So for me personally, I think you got to lock up Ed Boon and that entire team and make Mortal Kombat again another monster IP. Now maybe Microsoft sees the potential in leaving that multi-plat. Maybe they do that because so many people love Mortal Kombat, and obviously they want their bread buttered for sure. But to get that as a potential first-party developer, it would be magnificent. Mag, I know that you're short on time. I want to go to you now. What does Microsoft do next? Because obviously, we heard Pachter today say that the deal could be done as soon as October, or at least by the end of the year, which we all expect. This deal is going through.
I said September. But
okay, so regardless of how much Sony kicks and screams like a spoiled brat that doesn't get their ice cream cone, the deal is going through. But
Sony ain't making deals. Sony ain't making deals with the U.S. military. So guess what?
No. Yeah, right.
Microsoft is.
In the words of the great late Richard Pryor, tough titty. But yeah. So listen, what would you do next if you are running Microsoft?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not buying anybody. And that's probably an answer that probably a lot of people probably wouldn't expect from me. I still wanted the WB thing to happen, and you know what? It still could, and I'd be all for it. But why not just do this? You have enough studios now.
Yeah.
You have so many goddamn studios, you don't even know what to do with half of them. They haven't even scratched the surface with Bethesda that was purchased how many years ago now? 3?
Yeah.
Is it 3? I think it's 3. It was before the pandemic, wasn't it? I think it was like the I think it was the September before the pandemic happened. So late fall 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So they haven't even scratched the surface with 80% of those studios.
Yeah.
Why even worry about? Then you've got Activision Blizzard, and that's basically double the size, triple the size of what Bethesda is. They have decades of content already in their coffers, so to speak, like in their stable. Okay, their bullpen is loaded, folks. They got tons of pitchers. They got tons of they got everybody in there. So the thing is, why don't you just take the time with all those studios, let them work, nurture them, what they make, help them grow from the days of Naughty Dog making those crappy PC games, and then all of a sudden turning out games like Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us 2. That's what they could do with the smaller studios that are owned by Activision Blizzard, and of course with Bethesda. They could turn those studios into those, like I said, give them the money, nurture them, let them grow. What they need is license for, you don't have to, but what I personally would go after is not more studios, not more bodies. All you're doing is creating more logistical problems. It's like you're hiring, and then nobody's doing anything. They're all just standing around like, hey, you work here now? Yeah. You work here now? All right, so what are we doing? It's like a stadium full of people. Nobody knows what the hell they're going. The thing is, what they should do is they need to focus on licensed IP. Okay? Yeah. You've got the bodies. You've got the studios. Build new studios if you want to. Build new buildings, whatever the hell you want to do. Licensed IP. Start going to WB. If you're not going to buy the studios, then you buy the damn Batman name. Yeah. Period. You can afford to.
Yep.
You be the exclusive. And so, therefore, Warner Brothers still owns Batman for the movies and all that kind of stuff. But Microsoft,
but you own the rights for the video games.
You goddamn right, Boom. Yeah. That's exactly what they need to do. And so you got Batman as their exclusive, Superman as their exclusive, Wonder Woman as their exclusive IPs and licenses for video games only, not for movies, not for TV shows, for HBO Max or any of that nonsense. That's all WB. What you need to do is keep what you got and just, like I said, you go after licensed IP and you do that because, again, that's what this all boils down to. What we talked about earlier about the mind share, right? What do people know? People don't know what Starfield is. Yeah. I know Xbox players who don't even know what the hell Starfield is. I swear to God, I'm not even making this up. Like a couple of guys that work for me, I might fire them actually just because of that. But anyways, but in all seriousness, they have no idea what Starfield is. I'm like, dude, you literally have a Series X. And he's like, yeah, so what is it? Like, is it like a shooter or is it? And I'm like, just take the muffins and go to the dining room. I don't want to talk to you right now. But the thing is, they don't know. And so, but they do know. They know Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They know who Wonder Woman is. They know who Batman is. They know who Superman is, right? They know these characters. They know who the Suicide Squad are because they sat down and watched a movie of them fighting a giant eyeball. Okay, so they see all these things. They know all those things. So what I think they should do is not buy anybody at all. What they should do is keep the studios that they have, nurture them, grow them, invest in those studios, invest in the best possible staff you could hire for the studios that you already own. Colt, you missed this part. What I was getting at is that basically Activision Blizzard, don't even worry about that. Don't even worry about new acquisitions. You haven't even scratched 80% of the surface with Bethesda. What you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, now you're about to get Activision Blizzard. You haven't even touched half of these studios. You've got, like I said, decades and decades of games and things that they could be working on. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. So just do that. Get better staff, get better funding, get better developers, get the best in the business, and then you get those licensed IP from those other people. That's what you do. You make those deals. Don't oversaturate. Okay, your studio. How the hell can Matt Booty watch all these people at once? There's no way. Okay, there's no way that this could be controlled. Yeah,
nope. Sorry.
But you know what I'm saying? The Booty can handle it. Trust the booty.
Booty
But
can't
trust
handle
the
it.
boot.
Can I
Nope.
say something real quick?
Yes.
And I'm going to echo your point in a minute. And
All right.
this is one of the times I call Boom up. I don't want, at least right now, I don't want Microsoft buying any individual studios right now because I'm going to need to see them ship something. Like if they buy a publisher, I'm fine because the publisher has their own software development life cycles. They have their own schedules to do things, and Microsoft is going to provide funding and technology, and they can just continue to do what they do. But in terms of Xbox game studios right now, I know there are a million irons in the fire right now, but I need to see them ship something, right? Like, tell me what is happening with State of Decay 3 or In Exile's next game or Everwild.
So then why don't you focus with what you got?
That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, and
right?
that's what I'm saying. I'm also agreeing with you in an argumentative sounding fashion, but I wasn't.
It's a heated agreement. It's not
Yes,
a heated argument.
so
it's a heated agreement.
That's exactly what it is. And that's what I'm saying. Focus on what you have. You have so much. You have so much, and you don't know what. I mean, you know what to do with it. Then work on that. They don't need anything else.
Let me tell
That's
you
my
what.
opinion.
Let me tell you what really ticked me off on. I don't know what it was. Monday, I think. It was Monday.
Tell us what grinds your gears.
This is what really grinds my gears is.
There we go.
First of all, Xbox or Dark Tide, Fat Shark announced that Dark Tide was being delayed 2 months.
Yep.
And then they said we'll release on PC on November 30th, and then the Xbox version will come later. That really bothered me that Xbox didn't, talk to them and say, "Look, we partner with you. Can you just wait a little longer? Just push the game to 2023 and release it on the Xbox at the same time." But then again, I think Xbox just wants to make more money on Game Pass PC and then turn around and charge more people on console Game Pass, which is super slimy. But here's what really grinds my gears is maybe an hour after Xbox's one and only promising big, cool-looking exclusive in 2022. And I truly believe that. Scorn is really weird, but Darktide was their coolest looking.
Yeah, Darktide looked really
game.
good, dude. Like it looked like that just screamed Xbox because of the multiplayer.
Is that a shooter or is it a strategy game?
It's a shooter with RPG class based.
What am I confusing it with? Because they do have a strategy game.
It's like Vermintide 2, but this is way more gun based instead of melee based.
Yeah.
You play with 4 players, or you can have bots in there, and it's like a wave mode of enemies, and you go through big maps that just keep going on and on and on until you get to the end. It's really great, but that's not my point. I love Darktide. I can't wait to play it. Skill Up loves it. Anyway, here's what really ticks me off.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, and you have every right to be disappointed.
Here's what happened. Here's what happened. About an hour after Darktide was announced, basically, hey, Xbox console fans, we'll see you next year. So Xbox doesn't have really a whole lot. It's even worse now, in my opinion. About an hour after this came out, I'm trying to paint the picture. I don't swear, but freaking Xbox had a scheduled PR tweet that they put out an hour after their only cool game coming this year outside of Grounded and High on Life. They tweeted out, hey, remember, we have American Girl doll with Xbox accessories. If you didn't think that was a thing, when their social media team and their marketing team should have known, hey, no, remember that tweet we're putting out? Just throw that in the garbage.
Yes,
because
100%.
Xbox needs to save some face. This is embarrassing that they were pushing a funny little cutesy American Girl doll third party like marketing deal to sell a little plastic Xbox One and a little controller and a little headset. And
jeez,
it really upsets me because I've talked to a lot of great people.
They seem a little bit out of touch in some areas.
Really out of touch. I've talked to the people at Xbox marketing. They're extremely talented. They're really smart and funny, and they should have known. Holy crap! Not even if Darktide on console didn't get delayed, that tweet should not exist in the current situation where Xbox is really having a very difficult year. And it almost makes me think like maybe they don't think they're having a difficult year with the core of their fan base. But to talk about an American Girl doll thing, it's like, why is your marketing not on point right now? When you're talking about, they should have been saying here's what's going on with Ninja Theory and all these other studios. Like, I don't understand why the marketing team isn't like, I know you're not ready, teams. I know you're not ready to show stuff, but we're trying to get some marketing momentum back up. Things have been slow. What would you like to share? And I know Ninja Theory shared little things like, hey, we've got 4K or 6K highly detailed bird poop. And this is the situation we're sitting on where Xbox needs to say, hey, here's kind of the area we want to start marketing. All you guys are working on stuff, and we kind of put you on the back burner with this 12-month initiative for E3. But what kind of story do you guys want to tell? Can you guys have like one render of a really cool area you want to share? Let's get that, and let's plan that as a social media post, because that's all Xbox has right now is Twitter. Yeah. And they're not doing it. And it upsets me because it's not like they don't have anything. Xbox has more than anybody else in the oven right now, especially more than PlayStation. PlayStation's got God of War, Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, and the rest. We don't even know what they're doing.
We literally have no idea what's coming.
Well, that's why they're working on all those third parties.
Yeah, I'm working on a video right now. I can't even cover the third-party global publishing stuff because some of it's not unofficial and we don't even know what else they're bringing. But if you look down the road, Xbox has games coming 2023, 2024, 25, 26, maybe even 27 that we already know about that are in the works. Xbox just sit down and just lay back and take it for an entire year is so weird.
Serious pause.
Hey, Colt, let me just add one thing. And you know, a lot of us, sometimes things are right in front of our face and we don't realize it. Like, I know a lot of times we say we don't know what Sony's working on apart from Spider-Man and Wolverine. We do know because Jim Ryan keeps telling us they're working on 12 service-based games.
Yep.
These microtransaction-laden hellscapes.
Hang on a second. Master Jazz says everyone thinks they're a marketing executive. Hey, Master, I work in marketing at my job. Yep. And it always translates into what Xbox is doing, because I do marketing and PR and communications for multi-million-dollar projects. And I always look at, and now what Xbox does sometimes can be 5 times bigger, 2 times bigger, sometimes 10 times bigger. But the method is always the same: getting out in front, being proactive, and being transparent and exciting your audience and keying them in on what's going on. And Xbox has done very little of that. And even PlayStation right now, they've upset some of their fanboys. Like Colin Moriarty had a very reasonable rant that Xbox has shown all these things to be excited about down the road in the future, even though the games aren't out or coming out right away. He's excited about all the things that they've shown. PlayStation, as you're about to say, Everborn, PlayStation hasn't talked about what's coming out in the next, after 1 year or 2 years from now.
Right.
And so the PlayStation fans, like they've got games now, but we love to be excited about what's coming. And I just want Xbox to talk about that a lot more.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Hello, police. I would like to report a murder.
I love it. That's great. Listen, Keasante, this we went off the beaten path, but it was a great conversation that we just had. But Microsoft, they were hitting on all cylinders with their marketing for quite some time, and something happened where we're getting these silly tweets of the America doll, or we're getting Xbox soap or whatever else, perfume, whatever. They need to be better with that. But honestly,
what did I tell you, Boom? Remember what I told you? I said back a little while ago, after the E3 style show, we will see if their confidence is misplaced.
Yeah.
Colt Eastwood said it, and I agree with him. Their confidence is misplaced. I can now say that. Before then, everybody was like, I'm like, wait till June. Wait till the show. Wait till you see what they got. We saw what they got. Their confidence was, and is including now, continuing to be misplaced. They're not in a stage of, hey, let's be unless
Unless
your crazy theory is right, and the moment that the deal is solidified, they go, and out of nowhere, all the games you thought wasn't happening is falling like rain, which I'm not there with you. We'll
Let's
see.
just say after the Activision deal closes, we're magically going to start getting dates.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, like I said, everyone had a great. We always thought he was crazy, but it was a great theory.
He is still crazy, but a broken clock.
Crazy like a fox.
I love that.
Broken
yes,
clock.
crazy like a fox, indeed.
Asante,
yes. I mean, what does Microsoft do after ABK? Do you feel like some of the like Mag, they don't do anything at this point? They already have too much, or do they go for the juggler in a big publisher
and keep going? Right? Yeah. Okay. So let me first address the thing with Mag. What you said, I agree with you. I hear you, but I still don't see a world where they do that. I don't see a world where they go, okay, you know what? It's time to start putting our money in licensed property. We can make good deals with them, much like how Sony made a deal with Disney at the right moment, and now they own Spider-Man game rights in perpetuity. Well, actually, they own movie rights, right? And that translates into game rights and all of this stuff. You want them to strike when the iron is hot, meaning maybe do something like that with DC right now, and then all of a sudden they become the home of DC property. I would,
and when
love
DC
that.
rebounds, which they will,
then they got everything. I get you.
Everything goes in cycles. You remember how DC was the hotness in the late 80s, early 90s. Then it died. Then it came back.
I
then
completely
it died again.
Agree with you, Mag.
It's going
My
to come
problem
back.
is this:
invest.
The only way I can see them do that is if they own DC. Microsoft has been beyond money so long that it's about legacy. It's about platform, right?
Yeah,
that's the reason why, and how many times, look at all the tech that you see in the world today, right? I'm the big tech guy. You see, look at all the tech. You're talking to your devices, you're talking to this. Every piece of huge tech that's making the world like a different place was either initiated or in somehow, some way started off by Microsoft. And then they got the black eye of not getting the benefits of it, right? That's what, literally, pick whatever you want. I can give you an example. The iPhone today opens when you smile at it because of Connect. That's why. Yeah. Most people don't understand that. The tech in your Face ID is Connect. They just took the company that made it, shrunk it down, and put it in the iPhone. Exact tech. Not similar, exact tech, right? All of your This is why Microsoft is like, screw that. This Xbox is our platform. It's going to be our platform. We're not going to be called up to anyone else.
You want me to take you back? You want to talk about
keep going.
You want to talk about shrinking technology? Remember the original Surface, the table?
Bro, I love that table.
The one that brought us the pinch to zoom and do all those
That's
things?
Right. Yes. So real quick, in the Netherlands, I used to live there. That's where I was living at the time. They're the only places I actually saw them exist. And you could put your phone on the table and it would then tell you what the phone is, give you all this cool information right on the table. People were talking about you could buy dinner and there'd be no need for waiters because you put the credit card down and it automatically charges you the food you ate. It's crazy. That was the original Surface, right? And they have to keep reinventing themselves because as much money as they have more than God, it seems like all these competitors seem to somehow, some way get a platform of their own that everyone considers to be ubiquitous. Right? All of a sudden, iOS is here and can't be stopped. All of a sudden, Android is here, can't be stopped. Oh, PlayStation is the platform. They don't have their own. Yes, they have Azure, but that's business, and business isn't sexy. They don't have consumer. They had Alexa. They had Cortana, which was a thing until it completely lost its way, and everything they learned has now gone into all the other named things that I can't say because that'll trigger all of your stuff, right? At the end of the day, they are beyond cash. They want a platform of their own. Yes,
one thing I'll say, I'll quote Steve Jobs here in saying, being too early is just as bad as being wrong.
It's just as bad as being wrong. That's exactly. And they have been too early multiple times. And because of that, unless they own DC, I don't see a world where they work with some other company to keep their light.
Why wouldn't WB just take the money for doing nothing?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not that they won't take the money for doing nothing. It's not that they'll take the money for doing nothing. It's that Microsoft won't give them the money unless they own every piece of the decision-making process.
Fair. That's a fair point. Okay, that's a good point.
Because they are beyond money. You want it, we'll give it to you, but we want all of it. You have no right to say anything you want about it. It's ours now. Why do you think it took Halo so long to come out? Because they refused to work with somebody who would tell them, Microsoft, you sit down, let us make the plot. Let's make your show. No, they refused. So it took 15 years or whatever for Halo to come out. And when it did, it was a spark. It wasn't the great amazement that we want.
Master Cheeks is what I remember most.
But needless to say, because of that, I don't see a world where, and I think it's a sad state, because I'm a Marvel zombie from way back. I want Microsoft to have their own superheroes. I'm in the bag for the MCU. I'm in the bag for DC. DC is ripe for awesome storytelling. Right? Enough with the Batman. I'm sorry. I know y'all love Batman. Yeah, there's too many damn Batman games. Too many damn Batman games. Give us so much. There's so many others, right? But they won't do it because they can't own the whole piece, right?
Fair point.
Now, to answer your question quickly, Boom, you asked what I would think they would do next, right? And as Colt has said very aptly, and everybody else has said, yeah, you can pick so many of the things. There's what I want, what I think they should do, and what I think they will do. What do I want? Everybody knows what I want because I've said it on this show multiple times. Embracer Group.
Yeah.
As of August 2022, they are now worth $9.18 billion.
That's it for all the studios they have?
Yeah. Chump change.
Jesus.
Chump change.
Not even 10 billion. And I'm not saying that to be facetious, but when you look at big business and considering how many they have close to, I believe it's 70 developers now.
And back in the day, when I first said this multiple months ago, Mr. Everborn Saga was ready to clown me. What do they have? Well, now they have Crystal Dynamics, and they have Tomb Raider, and they're, in addition to all the hundreds of IPs they used to have, they also now have a marquee AAA, able to make amazing bangers, was disrespected for too damn long, developer. In addition to all the stuff they had. So, as of August 2022, $9.17 billion, I'm sorry, with a B, $9.17 billion is their market cap, which, I mean, come on now. These guys just spent $80 billion like it was no big deal. 9.7. So let's say on a good day, Embracers is like hitting it out the park. All their games are coming out gold. They are amazing. You buy them for 20, and that's ridiculous. You buy them for 20, but still, that's chump change compared to the company that has more money than sense, clearly, right? So can they do that? Sure. Will they? The reason why they are as rich as they are and as good as they are is because Amy Hood doesn't let that wallet open up for free, right? She's really, really mindful of how they spend their ducats, so that may never happen, right? Another great point is they should, and this is what I think they will probably do, even though it's not sexy, but I think they probably will do that. They have learned their lesson on all of the companies that they work with that they don't own. So I think the very next chance they get, Asobo.
Yeah.
Very next chance they get. Because Asobo not only fills their Game Pass coffers on a monthly, yearly basis based on all their interesting games, they also have a 10-year plus plan with them on Flight Sim. Imagine if that Crackdown 3 thing happens to them right now. Hey, we're using your amazing streaming tech to create Flight Sim. Flight Sim is awesome. It's bringing petabytes of data in. Oh yeah, Asobo's bought now. The tech can no longer be used. For those who don't know, that's what happened to Crackdown's
exactly what happened. Epic bought the company.
Yes, and then took away the technology because there was no existing contractual obligations to keep it. That's what turned Crackdown 3 into a sad state when it was this amazing, multiple consoles, destructible worlds, blah 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 blah. They have learned their lesson, so I can foresee, the company that makes Contraband. I can foresee Asobo for Flight Sim and all the rest. Those are the moves exactly, and all those moves can be made under a certain threshold, so there'll be no regulatory blah 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 when they do it. They can make it under a certain threshold. They're not going to be billions upon dollars. Yeah, maybe if you put them all together, they are, but you're buying separate pieces here and there. I'm sure there will be conversation about it, but it will be much like the Bungie deal. It'll come and it'll go and it'll be fine because it's just one simple company, right? What I think they should do, like I want them to buy Embracer. I think they'll most likely shore up their contracts with IO Interactive, which would be awesome, by the way. Asobo, a few others, right? Here and there. But to Mag's point, at some point, it's time for you to just relax. I know they say they're still looking and they will continue to look. But if they don't and they just relax and let these companies build and continue building and work out the logistics of like that timeline of release, I'm sorry, call the booty to the carpet, ask him where the 2022 games are, because you have 23 studios, dude, and still somehow it all disappeared into the ether. People hear saying you have so much to release but don't know when to release them, but we don't see or hear anything from you. You know what I'm saying? You got many studios at this point. It's about releasing it at a better cadence, at a better clip. So I personally think they should pump the brakes, right? Because when the ink dries on Activision Blizzard King, that doesn't mean Activision Blizzard King is now a renovated, amazing place to work and game developer.
They got a lot.
There's still going to be a lot of crap that they need to wade through, people-wise and technology, and that's in addition to integrating with Microsoft, right? There's a lot of detriment at Activision that needs to be corrected, right? So in the meantime, and let's have a conservative estimate, 2-3 years before that company is, barring any unforeseen complications, that company becomes solidified and great, and hey, they're part of Microsoft now, just like Bethesda, right? Within that 2-3 years, you can work on, making sure that 343 releases content on time, and making sure that within every quarter there's at least one AAA, AA game available for your consumers from a first party perspective. All that can be done without you buying another thing and having more heat on you, and all of that. So that's where I sit with it. I honestly think that it's great that we talk about this back and forth, but at the end of the day, it's all potential that never gets to fruition if they don't learn to close, basically. Let's be honest here, 2022 tells us they don't know how to close.
Well,
stop with your damn theory.
You know what?
We heard you, man.
Guys, how many times do I have to be right before you listen to me?
Well, you know what? We are at the 2-hour mark. I want to let everyone give his point, and then I'll get everyone out of here. Read the super chats out of here, and then we'll get everyone out of here. Everyone, I know that you have said that you don't want them to pick up anybody else until they start delivering on what they
let's
have.
clarify. I don't want them to pick up individual studios that they will need to manage.
Right. But you're okay
fine
with publisher.
Yes.
So who does Microsoft go for next?
Wouldn't that depend on the booty though? If somebody was in a position that you could tell really knows how to manage these studios and things are coming out left and right, you wouldn't have a problem with them picking up another one. But now you have so many, and then nothing's coming out.
There's it even
so that sounds like a booty problem to me.
Even if you were, it's not as simple as replace Matt Booty and everything's
no.
There's
it's the mechanism that he manages and created that's
right.
But
But even if you brought someone else in, there's a bunch of people along the line that you need to get into a cadence of delivery. It's not. I just don't think now is the time for them to add a new studio unless that new studio is purchased under the subsidiary that is ZeniMax or Activision Blizzard.
So what you're saying is you want ABK to buy Sega when Microsoft buys Sega.
No, that's not what I'm saying, right? Here's the thing. This deal's going to close imminently, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 3 words that everyone will instantly recognize. Netflix, Valve, Sega. Right?
That would be something.
Now, we've all gone through that whole entire Netflix conversation. We all understand why it makes sense. We all understand that Netflix, one of their biggest costs is technology and what they pay to Amazon for the AWS services. We understand how important cloud is to Satya and Nadella. We understand that if they were to take Netflix off of AWS servers and put it onto Azure, that would make the Azure the number one cloud service in the world. There and Netflix could produce content and shows for Xbox IP and vice versa. You could link one to the other, merge the subscription services. There's a ton of synergy there. We know that, right? What we also know is that Microsoft, as they've been ratcheting up their acquisitions, they are going for the big dog. They're going for the number one thing. What's very important to them, aside from mobile, is PC. You go after Valve, that is the number one PC store. That is where everyone is, right? Valve is not a publicly traded company. I'm not saying you don't have to go through regulations, but it's not the same as what you have to go through with another
publicly traded
company.
Sure.
This would put them at number one in the console market, and at the same time, number one in the PC market. And if you could sell or offer Game Pass, if you could put that in front of everyone that's on Netflix and everyone that is on Steam, that gets you closer to that 3 billion number that you want to address, right? So they could be number one in those things. And now I say Sega, but it also could be Capcom, but I say Sega just because they're already so closely in bed. They are not playing, other than partnerships, they're not playing in that Eastern region. You get Sega, you can buy Sega for $5-6 billion. Their market cap is $3.5 billion, right? You get Sega, and now that is a foothold to show that region you are serious. And Sega is not just the games that you get through Sega. Sega can now be your face for Xbox Japan, which means that they can get the publishing deals that maybe you could not get. Right?
Good stuff.
They can get in the rooms that you get. So Netflix, Valve, Sega, that's the way you go.
Yeah, I love it. I love and what you're saying is a great point. First of all, I want to just say, Mag, thank you so much for being here, brother. If you don't know, he writes all the scripts for me because he's incredibly talented for the Manscaped ads, and they're all original stuff that he comes up with. So big thank you to him. Jerron TJ drops a $20 super chat and says they need to pick up Monolith, Certain Affinity, Avalanche Studios, Crytek, NetherRealm Studios, IO Interactive before picking one last up publisher in EA or Ubisoft, and then they'll be done. We also have Gamers Play HUD Zero, who has been a channel member. Wow, man, for 10 months. Thank you for that. He says, when it comes to Microsoft versus Sony with the Activision Blizzard purchase, I quote Voldemort, there's no good or evil, there's only power. Love you, Boom. Well, love you too, brother. Thanks so much for that. And that is a great quote. J-Rock, well, everyone knows who that guy is. He's a awesome dude on the socials. He came by and dropped a $5 super chat and says, just passing by to show my guys some love. Hit the like button, chat. And we also have Hush Alagul. Drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says Microsoft should invest and make a third pro controller as tough as old school Nokia phones. Yeah, actually, Jez Corden tweeted something the other day that there's one that's going to be here sooner than later, which is pretty good because I have what do I have 5 elites? I think I have about 5 of them. Yeah, including the gears. Including the Gears one.
What are you hoarding them like? Are you hoarding them like like
I never sold them. I bought the black one, the for original, got the white one, got the Gears of War one, and I have and I have one. Yeah, so I have 4, not 5. I have and of course the current one. Oh no, I do. I have 5. I have the Halo one as well. I love it. I use it for all my multiplayer stuff because I love the half pull triggers. It's really good. But listen, this has been a hell of a show. And if you didn't know, we crossed 600 live viewers. Thank you so much for that. That is freaking awesome. It's been a long time when we hit any of those numbers. And I hope a lot of them are new viewers, that if you enjoyed the content, and of course, the big personality in Colt Eastwood brought you over here, that you consider subscribing. And speaking of Colt, please sell your brand. Not that you need to, but you have a great show. You recently just added Gaz as your second panel. You know, you guys are co-hosts, and of course, Gaz is just absolutely amazing. He's a loose cannon, and you guys do match up well. You're very prim and proper, and to a point. And,
I needed that.
Yeah,
because I I needed Gaz because he's a loose cannon, but
He is.
he is also so freaking smart, and he's
He's
hilarious. And we're best friends, so it is a true blessing. Like, for those of you who, I'll say this, right? You guys that work together on a podcast, you become friends, and that camaraderie comes across when you talk about things you were passionate about. And I've watched enough podcasts, and I still watch podcasts, to feel like I get to know the people who are providing the show for me. And I really, really, really appreciate that, because I feel like I know the people who are speaking on these shows I watch. And I hope that you feel the same way, that you feel like we like step into your living room or wherever, in your break room when you're at work, and we're all talking gaming as friends. And it's really, 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 it's such a privilege.
Yeah.
And thank you for having me on. It's been strange since the Xbox showcase. News has been very weird, sometimes very negative, but very quiet. But thank you, everybody who's checking out my videos. I'm working on a really big one. That's going to take a long time, but a lot of cool stuff that needs to be said. I can't wait. But just keep an eye on my channel and turn on the bell if you want, because my videos are only like maybe once a week. So I won't spam you too much, but Ecstasy's on Monday. And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Dude,
it.
it's great. It's great to have you a part of the show. And obviously, at some point or another, I got to jump on and visit you on your show as well. That would be super cool. Gamers Play HUD Zero drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, I said this before, Xbox is the jack of all trades, but the master of none. Never understood why they still don't get it. And Scribe's been translated. I mean, that you have a great point. I also missed a super chat.
I don't know that I agree with that point, though, right?
Well,
like,
I mean,
everybody's trying to chase them in terms of what they're doing with multiplayer. Everybody's trying to chase them in terms of what they're doing with services. How many times have they led the industry?
Oh, they have
in
multiple
a direction.
times, yeah.
So they are masters at several things.
How many times do we diss the masters of being sad dad simulators? Those who have identities also get hated for it sometimes. So, being too identifiable is also a problem.
And in terms of being masters, they, like you said, they got hated because, all they're doing is service games. And now you see that
everyone else is doing service games.
Now they're moving their whole business model with service games. So let's give credit where credit is due. You can give smoke where smoke is due, but let's give some credit.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Lonely Boy.
And they're about to be the masters of shooters after this Activision.
Well, they absolutely will, for sure. Lonely Boy 221133 drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, I think Netflix is next. Thanks for the retweet. Keep up the great work, Boom. Everyone hit that like button. Great panel. Thank you so much for that. So, Kay Asante, you have a little show coming up this Saturday. Hopefully, again, your house won't be raining on the inside, and there'll be no reason to stop the program. But yes,
indeed, yes.
Yeah, talk about it.
No, I appreciate it, Boom. Thank you so much. Last week I heard a lot of great messages, and you know people like your show when you don't have it. I announced it on Twitter. Unfortunately, can't have it, and I forgot to take down the coming soon, and like the DMs, the chat was filled with where'd they go? What the heck?
Oh yeah.
I don't know how or why, but I'm sure this is Everborn's fault. we had a great comment section. We had a great comment section. But yes, we will be back this week. We know you missed the slanderous takes in the morning. We will be back this week.
And there's still stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Actually, I had a pretty good show planned for last week too, but now there's far more in the tank to really go off on. So yes, the Gaming Circle podcast, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel. Follow me, TK0 Asante on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation. Whenever I go live, you'll catch it. We enjoy having communities, having conversations with the community. Where the chat comes onto the show, and we really go back and forth. Myself and the slanderous fourth chair, Mr. Everborn Saga, at the bottom over there. We have a good show on Saturday. So please, if you have a chance to come check us out. Cult, I'll hold it to it. Check your DMs at some point. I'll be hunting you down. Hopefully we'll get you on the show as well. But no, it was a great show today. Lots of awesome takes. I don't have to give Mag any credit. He knows he deserves all the credit. So I'll leave him alone. But yes, we'll definitely be back again next week. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And Everborn, sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone about the Everborn Saga and where can people reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, man. Everbornsaga.com is the main thing, but Everborn Saga everywhere else. That's Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, you name it. Everborn Saga on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that jazz. But check out everbornsaga.com. You can see these comics we are putting together. We're building our own little universe here. We've got 3 series out so far, all interconnected in the same universe happening in parallel, and then there's team ups and things like that. So check it out. If you're into fantasy, if you're into anime, if you're into games, because we're working on a game for the Redlands right now, check us out. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. Just check out everbornsaga.com.
Nice, good stuff. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in, hanging out with us for a little over 2 hours. We hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please consider hitting that like button so we can get into the proper algorithms of YouTube. And also, if you're new to the channel, please help us get to that 11K. It would be a real.
Hey, I'm sorry, Boom. Just one thing. I super apologize for this. I see JMO Money in the chat. I want to apologize. I know that your 2-year-old's thing, your birthday thing was Aaron was on Saturday, and we were supposed to give him a shout out on the show, but we didn't get to do the show, so I apologize for that. If he is listening,
that's
out
why
to
he's
you,
like,
young
say
man.
it. Say it, Everborn.
No, that's not what he's talking about. Saying Sonic sucks. That's not what he's talking about.
Okay.
He didn't ask about that.
I thought that's what it was.
I did see the tweet that it was the second birthday, so I did not forget. We just didn't do the show. So,
shout out to you, Money.
Shout out to him and the
shout out to the little
for sure. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's your show. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. I had a great time. It was great to have hang out with Colt once again, and of course, my brothers of Primetime Gaming. I want to say a big thank you to all the super chats that have come in. Obviously, you know that Mrs. Boomstick and I use those to do these big giveaways, and we've already done 2 for this year, and we're doing 2 big ones, one of $500 in September and one in December of $1,000. We are giving $1,000 worth of digital items away to celebrate the holidays, whether that be Hanukkah for some others, Christmas for others, Kwanzaa. But we want to give back to the community, and we can do that thanks to channel membership and, of course, all of the super chats that come in. And, of course, I'm going to close out the show, folks, with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.